you and the Secretariat, firstly, for organising this event, and all the panellists and the participants for their very high-quality interventions. I have to say they've made me more knowledgeable, but they haven't made my job any easier, because it hasn't actually steered us in a single direction. Firstly, let me say something about one of the earlier discussions about the way that ACTA was negotiated. I share the concerns about the way that ACTA was negotiated. This Parliament passed 2 resolutions calling for more transparency in the ACTA negotiations, but we have now passed that stage. We have a text, and it's not for us now to say yes or no to ACTA on the basis of how it was negotiated, but on the basis of the text that we now have. So we have to move forward from the negotiations to the reality of what we now face. But there, I said in committee this morning that there's an English expression where we say the devil is in the detail. The problem with ACTA is the devil is in the lack of detail, and we don't have enough information on many of the areas that we will in the end have to make a judgment on. Let me give you some examples from today. The Commission insists that ACTA is perfectly and wholly in line with the acquis communautaire. It's true they have some backing for that in terms of the Parliament's own legal services. Yet we've had more than one academic telling us that, as it's currently drafted, it is broader than the current acquis communautaire, is probably the mildest way of putting it, and others suggest it goes even further than the acquis communautaire. We have the Commission saying that the legislation does nothing to change the damages, and in fact the Article 9 is designed more to give a choice, a range of choices to judges, principally suggested even that these judges are outside the European Union rather than judges inside the European Union. Yet, some of our experts hint that this could lead to stronger criminal sanctions inside the European Union if we do not apply, if ACTA is not applied evenly and uniformly across the European Union. I've debated with Commissioner de Gucht the issue of commercial scale abuses, and he, and again, to be fair, the legal services also say commercial abuse is clearly laid out in European jurisprudence. Yet again, we've had experts today say that, in fact, in the way it's drafted, the way it's in ACTA, it could be regarded as a rather vague concept. When it comes to generic medicines, again, rightly, it's pointed out that ACTA does not include anything to do with patents, but it does, of course, if it has any function at all in this area, it does tackle counterfeit medicines more severely, but it doesn't. What we don't know is how border agencies will be asked to define a counterfeit medicine as against a legitimate generic medicine, especially when a lot of those medicines, when they arrive at the frontier, are packaged and labelled sometimes quite and legally similarly to an original medicine. So how will this operate in terms of our frontier? Again, in terms of internet service providers, we're told, and again it's clear, 3 strikes is definitely out. We're told that there are no additional burdens put on internet service providers. We're told just 2 minutes ago that what is legal, what is not legal is not legal. Yet, again, I have to say, not just from the experts, from my own reading of ACTA, it does appear to put additional burdens on internet service providers to make sure their users are not abusing EU law. So there's still a question mark over this. And finally, although there are many other issues we've touched on, an important issue dealt with in an earlier session is the issue of extraterritoriality. I mean, it's clear, let's be honest, we're sometimes reluctant to say, but ACTA is not designed to really get at the signatories of ACTA, but designed to get at countries like China, India and Russia and the other major sources of counterfeiting. But are we right? Are we able, through a multilateral or plurilateral agreement, to put obligations on third countries that they have not signed up for? Are these obligations in line with the TRIPS agreement? Will ACTA be used, as has been suggested, to put pressure through our bilateral negotiations or other trade negotiations on third countries to say that you may not have been part of the ACTA negotiations, but this is an agreement we have signed internationally, and if you want to trade with us, you'll sign up for these negotiations. And finally, in the same context, as was suggested in the first session, will what are currently optional or advisory, permissive statements in ACTA become mandatory statements? These are major concerns. I'm glad they've all been raised. We haven't got the answer to it. If I'm honest, I didn't expect to get the answer to it in one session. But I think in conclusion, Chairman, what this shows is that what the committee has decided to do is the right thing, to go to the Court of Justice, to ask for a legal ruling from the Court of Justice on the compatibility with ACTA, with our treaties and the acquis communautaire, and for the European Parliament to set out in an interim report questions to the Commission on how ACTA will be implemented and instructions, where appropriate, on how we think ACTA should be implemented before we come to a yes-no vote. Thanks, Chair.